What's up guys, it's me, Straw Hat Nate, and I'm back with another One Piece chapter review this week. We got chapter 1110 of One Piece, titled Falling Stars. And last chapter, if you remember, Saint J. Garcia Saturn called down the rest of the Gorosei to Egghead Island to fight against Luffy, who is actually fighting alone. So that's where the Falling Stars title comes in, the Gorosei. And this chapter has crazy reveals about the Gorosei, aka the Five Elders in English, because we even get to see the devil forms that we weren't able to see when they revealed themselves to Sabo. I never thought we would be getting to see these forms so early, but here we are. And dealing with the Gorosei takes up most of the chapter, but we can't forget about Zoro, who's pretty important in this chapter. In fact, in this chapter we get the end of the Zoro vs. Rob Lucci battle. And in the end of the chapter, we even get to see that someone's coming to fight alongside Luffy. And we'll see who that is later in this video, so let's get straight into the chapter from the beginning. Right after you like the video and subscribe to the channel, please. So the cover of this week's chapter is a continuation of the cover series on Wano, and now we get to know what the story is actually about. I hoped we would be getting some crazy plot developments, but it's really just showing Yamato's journey across Wano Kuni, trying to emulate what Odin did, going from temple to temple across the country. And in this one, she's just with Momonosuke in his adult form, and they're in the flower capital at the center of Wano. So we begin the actual chapter now with reactions to all of this like black lightning resulting from the Gorosei summoning. Vice Admiral Bluegrass, some other Marines, some of the giant pirates, and some of Frankie's group are all looking at the center of the island in shock because of all these like lightning bolts going crazy. And the Gorosei are making quite a spectacle. We cut to the Gorosei meeting room in Mirijoa, but it is empty since the Gorosei just got summoned to Egghead by Saturn. And although the transponder snail that was left in the meeting room is still on with the Vegapunk message, and it says that there's 7 minutes now until Vegapunk's secrets get released. So 3 minutes have already passed. Then we cut to the center of the island where the 4 ginormous shadows emerge from the 4 separate summoning circles, and Luffy always has to get a remark in. So he says that there's 5 monsters now, but he's saying it in more of like a sarcastic way because he's still gonna take on all 5 of them. Then one by one, we see each member of the Gorosei along with their name, their devil form appearance, and the devil form's name. This is actually the first time we're learning about all these different names, so it's a pretty big deal. Saint J. Garcia Saturn is a Gyuki, which is like a spider beast kind of looking thing, and that's the one we're already familiar with because he's been shown throughout Egghead. And Saint Marcus Mars is an Itsumade, which is a bird dragon looking creature. Saint Topman Warkuri is a Houki, which is just a massive boar with 4 tusks. Saint Ethan Baron V Nosturo is a Bakotsu, which is a skeleton horse. And finally, Saint Shepherd Jupiter is a sandworm, which is the only non-Japanese one. And it's like those big sandworms from Dune. And with that being said, most of them are based on Japanese yokai, except Saint Jupiter. It is still not confirmed that these are devil fruits, but it's highly likely since they even show a hybrid form. And we see now a true double page spread here of all of the monster forms of the Gorosei, and Luffy standing in the middle looking really tiny. According to what I've seen, this is the first actual double page spread, since the end of Dressrosa so long ago. So this is a really rare occurrence. So the first Gorosei member to take action is Venus Juro, who is the skeleton horse, and he goes away from the group to cut down some nearby pacifistas. As he approaches a pacifista, he transforms into his hybrid form to use his sword. So his bottom half is the skeleton horse and his top half is his human body. Essentially, he looks like a centaur. And then his attack, it freezes this pacifista. So maybe he has like some ice powers similar to Aokiji. And then some Marines even see Venus Juro attack this pacifista. So you know these Marines are definitely not seeing another day. Now, away from the main conflict, we see Zoro and Lucci once again. While they have an intense stare-off, Jinbei is on a call with the rest of the Straw Hats while watching them. Sanji on the other end of the call says that they gotta leave now, even if that means leaving behind Luffy and himself, Sanji. But Jinbei says that they can't leave yet because Zoro's still fighting. And when Zoro hears that they're waiting on him to finish his battle, he gets serious at last. And Lucci attacks him with Shigan Mara, and in return, Zoro uses a new technique called 3 sword style Hahava Leopard Hunter, which takes down Rob Lucci in one attack. And he named the attack after Rob Lucci, the one he's killing, since Rob Lucci's the leopard. So now that battle, which we are patiently waiting for the last many chapters, is now over just like that, with one slice from Zoro. But now returning back to the main conflict again, we see that Mars is in his bird dragon form and he flies up into the sky as Sanji looks from the ground, and Sanji knows that they gotta get out of here once he sees these like monster forms. And Mars looks down at the barrier of the Labo phase for a second before he dives straight into it. We see an explosion of the barrier, and I'm not sure if Mars made it through or not. Earlier, Luffy in Gear 5 just tanked a hit of the barrier, so I don't doubt that Saint Mars is able to just break right through it. And in the next panel, we see Venus Juro cutting up more Pacifista with ease, and then Jupiter, the sandworm guy, gets ready to make a move on Luffy as Luffy's fighting Saturn, but Luffy sees him burrow into the ground and Luffy's kind of just confused. Meanwhile, in the Labo phase, cutting away from this, Nami's group joined up with Brook's group, and then Usopp using Green Star Bamboo Javelin brings the Thousand Sunny to a complete stop. Remember, the Thousand Sunny was about to fly off the edge of the cloud that they were on, which would have been real bad. Thankfully, they dealt with that situation, but they might have bigger problems now with the Gorosei on the island. And after that brief cutaway, we once again return to Jinbei looking at Zoro cutting down Lucci once and for all. Then, back with Luffy, he looks down at the ground to see Saint Jupiter in his sandworm form emerging from the ground to swallow him whole. And Jupiter actually closes his mouth and swallows, but Luffy isn't gonna just die like that because here come the giants. Dory and Bragi slice straight through the neck of the sandworm and Luffy falls straight out. And their attack to get Luffy out was called Solar Saw, which is ironic because Luffy uses the powers of the sun god and they worship the sun god too. And then when Luffy gets out, he exclaims, "I'm free." But what a reunion this is. These old friends that Luffy hasn't seen all the way since Little Garden come back just to save his life. And Dory and Bragi seem to be able to hold their own decent against these monster forms of the Gorosei, so we might have a good fight on our hands. That's unfortunately where the chapter ends though. Seeing the Gorosei in their full glory was an unexpected but awesome way to make this climax of the Egghead arc more interesting. If you told me just 2 chapters ago that we would see all of the Gorosei members transforming and wreaking havoc on Egghead, I would have told you were crazy. But here we are now. And Oda is absolutely cooking with this fight. I'd like to mention Zoro here though, because he got completely overshadowed by the Gorosei this chapter. Zoro's hype moment this arc was an afterthought compared to the main event that's happening, but that's fine. And also the Giants are just much stronger than I ever thought. Since they were introduced so early in One Piece, I never thought that they would be able to be comparable to the Gorosei, the leaders of the world. And I hope to see Luffy teaming up with the 2 Giants to have a 3v5 next chapter against the Gorosei. But we won't have to wait long to see what happens because there's no break next week. So, I'll be back here with the video next week covering it. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe because it will help me out greatly. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.